Rushford Casey am I. Thank you for watching. My Yoda started turning into some kind of fuzzy bear voice. I don't know. Anyway, we drunkenly write our own songs sometimes, and you can find those songs wiggling about at the end of the episode, wiggling into your ear, but not like an earwig. That's gross.
Ooh, or like those things from Star Trek 2.
Oh, gee.
Wow, that messed me up as a kid. Oh, that was the worst.
I mean, unless you really hate synth music. Then maybe it is like that. Yeah. Anyway, what on earth shall we discuss?
Well, tonight? I think it's probably high time that we do another lightning round. It's been, geez, I don't know how many episodes, but it's been a while.
Lightning round? Well, that's exactly what I wanted to do. How about that?
Lightning round! Yeah!
Well, that calls for another beer. Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be one of those lightning rounds.
Mm-hmm.
It's already drunk and he's opening another one.
It's already drunk and hasn't even started yet. So for those who don't know, lightning rounds, at least our version of it, we divvy up all of our major kind of categories, and we alternate between each other. The other person doesn't know what we're going to bring up as a topic of conversation, and we have 5 minutes to talk about it, and then we move on, usually. So yeah, it's pretty fun. It's a lot of fun. People like it.
And the last topic we both know, but
yeah,
these details are not all that important. You just watch and enjoy.
Mm-hmm. It almost doesn't matter if we know the topic or not. Like at this point, like no. 4 years in, we can basically tackle anything.
The masters of conversation.
Kind of, yeah. Kind of crazy.
I suck at small talk.
I know, it's funny.
So that would be kind of an ironic title for me. Anyway, let's get rolling.
Okay, so let's see. Okay, I've got the timer ready at 5 minutes. Hopefully, let me just double check really quick that the sound effect. Okay, good. So I don't know if you'll hear it. Usually it doesn't come across, but I'll hear it.
Up the volume a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to start with you. What's the topic?
Well, we have public health and safety as the first one. Yeah.
Wash your hands, people.
Hey, don't touch your face without washing your hands too, by the way.
This is your brain on drugs.
Oh man, well, so mine is a little more about safety-ish and a little bit less about health. So is using facial recognition access to stores to prevent shoplifting a good idea?
Well, I don't think it's too horribly different from a screenshot from a video camera. Like that's just as permanent a record. You see like faces printed, like if you've seen this person, they're banned from this store, or we need to speak to them or something, like that's going way back,
Oh yeah.
We're just developing better tools to identify those people. Because if you remember, a lot of those were all pixels, and like, okay, well, yeah, I'll see that guy. Oh, that guy with the big giant square nose, that looks just like the pixel I saw earlier today.
Well, yeah, and that does rely on having a clear picture of somebody and somebody in the store recognizing that and putting those two together and being like, hey, you're not supposed to be here. Whereas these automated like AI based systems, well, it just simply, those automatic doors just simply won't open for you if you've caused problems. And I I think the idea is good. However, there's a lot of people who say it's like discriminatory, but then it's like, well, who's it really discriminating against? Like people who've stolen shit from you, right? I mean,
I was thinking privacy would be the issue people had.
Well, that could be a problem, but primarily it seems to be they feel like it discriminates in some way, which I think it's a flimsy argument, but it's an argument nevertheless.
Yeah.
But this is the thing: like, if a friend visits your house and steals something from you, is it discriminate? Is it discriminatory to like not let them back in until they've made amends? I mean, they took your stuff, and I think giving more chances is good. Maybe this system would work if there was a way to make amends, to say, hey, okay, I'm going to return things, or I'll do a little bit of work for your store to make up for it. I'm sorry, or maybe enough time has passed. That's fair. And because I mean, what else? What are they going to do?
Yeah. I mean, imagine if your punishment was just to have to spend a day hanging out with the person you stole something from, and like you learn each other's hardships and gain empathy for each other and come to be friends, perhaps, instead of ruining a bunch of lives and costing taxpayers their money. And like, why don't we have more constructive methods of rectifying wrongs?
Well, yeah, exactly. Because I mean, a lot of people who steal things don't just steal randomly. I mean, yeah, there's kleptomaniacs out there, but sometimes people are stealing things because they don't have any money, and they need food or clothing or whatnot, or money for drugs. That's a factor to consider. I mean, it's a mental health problem at that point, but it's still something to consider. It isn't just simply somebody being a dick. And yeah, maybe having that interaction where, like I said before, somebody having to come in and do a little bit of work in the store, maybe clean the floors or the bathrooms or stock the shelves, or I don't know, do a little bit of extra work, and now you can atone for your sins, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
I think it's fair.
I mean, we could jury nullification that into action just by not bringing the law into it all the time.
Yeah.
You don't have to, because then it does put a restriction on that. But if it's like, if somebody bumps into your car and it didn't damage anything, I'm sure you've been like, don't worry about it. Like that's sort of the same sort of thing.
Exactly. Well,
like,
and I think
to play by the law book if it's a judgment game.
And what I like about this is it is a stateless kind of thing. There's no rules or regulations or laws in place. You don't have to have the cops involved. It's just like, hey, if you stole from me, you can't come back in here until some condition is met, whatever it is. And I think that's fair. I don't feel that it's really discriminating against people. I mean, because otherwise it's kind of like,
in that way the law is more of a cloud than a hard line. It's like, you can
that's time
be completely free under the cloud, and you just drift up into the cloud at varying places and run into the law. I
Yeah.
just want to finish that thought.
I, yeah, yeah. This is kind of like whose line is it anyway? It's a little loose. Like, oof,
We need
timers,
Drew
schmimers.
Carey though.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess that actually, again, this is a an entire uh, forest of seeds for episodes. Um,
You
'Cause
know what? I think it's gonna blend into the next topic or the next category being tomfoolery. Um, I thought, why don't we talk about reality TV in the same sense? Like, do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing?
ooh, well, I got mixed feelings about it. It's entertaining. Um, I guess didn't reality TV kind of begin with like MTV and the Real World and stuff like that, and Jerry Springer
Yeah.
and stuff. Like, I guess it's
But why
entertaining.
is it entertaining and how? Like,
Hmm.
how is reality? I mean, apart from our show, how is reality always entertaining if you look upon it? Like,
Mm,
that seems like a gamble to take as a show producer, right?
it does, and maybe it's entertaining because it's like a caricature of real life. Like there are real people, but it's so absurd
Yeah.
and over the top that it kind of makes you feel like, oh, I'm actually not crazy because look at those people. They're fucking nuts. You know?
It's like WWF wrestling. It was kind of reality TV, actually.
Yeah, actually, you're right. It kind of is. And but people enjoy that.
Yeah.
It
Like
is
they were actually wrestling, but it was like totally staged.
yeah,
So it was still like impressive physical feats and stuff. Like
mm-hmm.
you can respect them as um sportsmen, I guess, if you want to, even though it's not like an actual undecided occurrence, right? Like it's all
Oh yeah,
scripted. But
absolutely. The pro wrestlers are absolutely athletes. Like
yeah,
like you actually have to be able to
athletes.
do
That's the
that
word I was
stuff.
looking for.
Yeah, you have to be an athlete to be able to do that stuff and not get injured. So,
Yeah.
there's
Oh,
something
the
to be said for
flying
that.
Nelsons and
Oh
stuff. I'm
yeah,
like, wow, geez.
absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I feel again I have mixed feelings about reality TV. I think it does kind of cheapen the human experience to some extent, but then again, so do soap operas, right? It's like
Yeah.
condenses
Yeah.
everything down into like this kind of storyline and all of our human experience and interactions and relationships and struggles and strifes and the ups and downs. They're all part of this kind of entertainment story. And I mean,
Shaka when the walls fell.
yeah.
I mean, we all kind of tell history through stories.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense to like have, like a focal point in the media where that's kind of a caricature, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, and maybe reality TV would be okay um, if everyone kind of had the sense of like, oh, this is sort of a little bit of a deviation. This is not the norm. These people on Jerry Springer, these are not everyday people. They handpick them because they're full of drama. And
Yeah.
oh hey, watch the drama happen in the fights and like all that stuff. Like, okay, yeah, okay, a lot of that stuff actually is real, but they selected these people specifically to create that scenario so that could happen.
Well, actually, we know someone kind of that has been on Jerry Springer. And so I know like firsthand they tell you to play that shit up, like
Yeah.
dial it up to 11 and then keep going.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's some reality to it, like 'cause, she had some problems or whatever, but the overacting and all that stuff, that is like they're told to do that, you know.
Yeah, and in that sense, is kind of an artificial window into the human condition. Like people normally don't behave that way, and maybe the danger is people seeing shows like Jerry Springer and stuff and thinking this is the way I should behave. This is the way everybody behaves, and if I don't behave this way, we're not going to solve problems. And although I do love the stuff at the end where Jerry Springer comes on and says things, I think it does kind of make it problematic because damn it. Well, that's time.
Oh.
Eh, I guess my point is it almost like the stuff at the end of the show negates all the drama and ignores all the drama, and maybe that's a problem there. Yeah.
Yeah, but who really stays and watches to the end? I'm watching you people.
Hey man, breaking the fourth wall. uh, so I guess it would be on to me now. So our category for this particular section is philosophy.
Mm.
And my topic is why is it that in most societies on Earth, um, only women change their last name when they get married?
Oh, yeah. I did a minute microscopy on how last names are dumb. And that's a huge part of it. Like, why do we still bother with changing them at all? Or even like feeling the need to have the same last name as your great 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 grandfather. Like if you feel like calling yourself something else, we're starting to be okay with that as far as like gender goes, but what about your family identity? Like if you don't relate to that name anymore, you should not be stuck using it. It should be super easy to change your name anytime you want, no restrictions whatsoever. The government should not be able to tell you what you can identify as, and that includes your name.
I wholeheartedly agree. Yeah, and one of the what you'd said about gender before, like that's something I was thinking about. Like, okay, now at least in the U.S., same-sex marriages are like a legally accepted thing. Well, then, so who changes their name to whose name? Like at that point, if you're the
Yeah,
same gender, what name do you pick? And yeah, I agree. Why?
I've known
What's
a
the
couple
point?
guys that took the girl's name.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean that's going back over 10 years. Like it's not even just like a recent sort of thing. It does happen from time to time. And I think this idea has been pervasive in our culture for quite a while. Like, why are we still doing this? It's the law that's on the books that kind of seems ridiculous, but nobody's bothered to go through the hoops to like make it not a law anymore.
Yeah, maybe that should change.
Yeah.
And I think too, like, so at least I can speak to the U.S. Here in the U.S., a man and a woman get married. It's super easy for the woman to change her last name. You just write it in and sign and get it notarized, and boom, bam, you've got a new last name. Well, this is actually a really good opportunity to create a new last name. Why don't you both pick a new last name?
Right.
Like, Why not do that? Why does it have to be who cares the name from eons ago and your lineage and stuff like that doesn't matter. Like maybe this is a good time to pick a new name. Why isn't
Now
that
I'm
a
thinking
thing?
of the Halloween episode where the credits, it's like Casey Rosenfort.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Uh,
But
and
yeah, like in this day and age when we can create paper trails
mhm.
readily and then store them electronically, um, we don't have to carry the same name. There's, I mean, who are you really hurting? Like hurting by changing your name? All the dead people?
Which is kind of
Like,
funny. It's kind of funny because your true name essentially only matters for like banking and government stuff. Most people go by aliases online, and those are the names they're actually known by. So which name is true at that point? There's actually a book about that called True
huh.
Names. Well, not about that, but that's part of it. Um, but it's an interesting point. It's like, does your name define you, or do you define your name? And you're right. There is a paper trail. Um, Maybe we shouldn't officially have names. Just oh God, great. Okay, no, I just like verging into the territory of like barcodes on your forehead and stuff like that. But having a number as your official ID, some kind of secret code that that proves you're real. And this is where NFTs yet again come in. Wholly unrealized technology. Like, why are we trading pictures of like colorful monkeys? NFTs. Ah, oh God.
Oh my. Are we demonetized now?
uh, well, yeah. The
Mm.
potential of NFTs is vast, and it could pretty much take care of all almost I'd say about like 80 to 90% of all the stuff that government does with an algorithm. And it would not be able to be corrupted. But that's a whole
You
entirely
know what's a
different.
whole you know what's a whole episode that I just thought of? Identification, period. Why
Oh,
is a passport more trustworthy than a driver's license?
oh man. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Write that down. We have to
They
do an
they
episode
both
about that.
just say who I am with a picture of me and a
It,
signature. Like,
yeah. And the verification process is essentially just visual. You look at it and like, yep, you look like that person. It says you're that person here.
yeah,
Uh, and they can easily be forged and often
if
are.
any any bouncer should be like, hey, if I think this is counterfeit, I should be like, here, sign your name in front of me. You know, like
Mhm.
they can argue with you, like, oh, I had my cheeks done or whatever, like you can argue over the picture and like convince someone. But if you can't just like fluidly sign your name exactly the way it is on that ID, uh, because I don't think that's something most people forge in, right? Is their
Mm.
own signature of the name, right?
Well, my signature though, if somebody asked me to do that, and that was the ultimate verification process, I'd be fucked because I'm like all over the map. I'm like a doctor with my signature. It's just kind of
You still
noodly
do
scribbles.
you still do that super cool one. I remember it, like the E was all like geometrical.
You go 3 lines. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. Yep. I still do that. Oh yeah.
that is the coolest signature ever. So if you want a signed DVD of season 4 of Kitchen Sink Microscopy, oh, we should do that. We should have DVDs.
Oh man, we should. Yeah. Yeah, some kind of physical media you can like actually own. That
Laser
won't.
discs.
Yeah.
Or like
Laser disc.
exclusively laser discs.
Woo, that would be expensive. Or yeah, let's rewind a bit and go to CEDs. Yeah. Um, that anybody that knows about that would be laughing right now. Uh, okay, so I think it might be your turn. Before we deviate too much in our
Oh, right, right.
alcoholic state. So
Ah,
you have your own topic.
current events.
Mm-hmm.
Ah,
Mm.
long live the king. I think you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, yeah. It is a bit surreal that England or the UK now has a king. It's been well, there's been a queen as long as I've been alive. So, um,
The bloody queen was alive and in reign longer than my dad.
yeah.
Holy shite.
Wait a minute, your dad was reigning a country? It wouldn't surprise me, honestly.
Oh, I meant longer than he was alive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, I know. Yeah, it is
I mean,
crazy.
it's a turn of phrase, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it is. Hmm. Yeah, it's kind of like hard to kind of like fathom that, and having another person, especially because Queen Elizabeth II was very consistent and very kind of out of the picture. Um, how's it going to be with a king now? Like, we don't know. I mean, ultimately, this is the crazy thing. Technically, the monarchy in the UK has ultimate power. They can just say shit and it can happen. Yes,
Oh,
there will
plot
be
twist.
consequences, but I mean, if they really wanted to, they could. It's just kind of fortunate that for 3/4 of a century, the queen was just sort of like shaking hands and giving speeches and knighting people and whatnot. Um,
You want power, like you often say like the guy with the gun is gonna win, but like I bet an unarmed king against a gun, the king would win. Like the level of reverence that is commanded by a person for no real particular reason other than who they fought or who their parents fucked, really.
mm,
um that's it. That does not bestow upon them any like special powers or anything. They're not special people, they're human beings like you and me.
no,
Why do we like
Princess Diana died in a car crash. Well, if you believe the official story, um, but
is this
she
going to blend in a conspiracy theory?
maybe, but she wasn't immune to like the same stuff that affects all of us. And yeah, there is kind of like a really weird religious zealotry over royalty in England, even in the US too. Like,
Yeah, why
okay,
are we so fascinated?
I don't know. Like, I mean, okay, it's kind of interesting in my opinion, but at the end of the day, I don't fucking care. Like, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter to
and
me.
I mean, she was a great lady and stuff,
Oh,
like
okay,
a
yes,
really benevolent person and stuff. And I'm not
and
like
actually,
pissing on her grave by any means, but like,
yeah, and
why
she was
is it
actually
relevant? I guess.
revolutionary.
Yeah.
Like, she, if memory serves correctly, she was the first monarch in the UK to actually pay taxes rather than collect them.
Oh wow,
So that I mean, that's
that's all right. Yeah,
like okay.
walk the
So
walk. Yeah.
yeah, okay. They shouldn't have special royalty privileges or anything like that. They're just people. But it is kind of cool to see somebody kind of okay, I have ultimate power within my domain, but I'm just gonna not use it. I'll essentially forfeit it for the good of everybody else. I can
Yeah.
respect that. I like that. That is a respectable thing. And Queen Elizabeth II was a respectable person.
What we need is a pope like that. A pope that basically just doesn't lead you at all. It just teaches you how to lead yourself and then leaves you alone.
Yeah, well, almost like using a keto. So
Yeah.
the Pope should be taking your zealotry of your religious fervor and redirecting it to be a force for
Yeah.
good.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
change the world. Like that would be the Pope. Oh,
Damn.
Mike fucking drop. Yes. Oh man. That was perfect timing. Oh,
Nice.
oh
Nice.
man. Let's see if we can one up
That
that.
that needs to be blended into a music video or something.
Hell yeah. Oh man.
There'll be like those TikTok videos where like girls are like bouncing around, and then like when the bell of the lightning round goes off, it like switches to them like wearing their new bikini and
Yeah. I was thinking like towels being held up and then they just
oh
drop
yeah,
them.
that one too.
The
Yeah.
towel just drops at the bell and whoa, you've seen it all now.
It's
Demonetized.
too late. I'd already seen everything.
Oh yeah. So is it my turn, I think? Possibly.
Is it my turn now?
That's a good episode of Red Dwarf. Oh man. Okay,
Yeah.
so the timer
Yes, it
reset.
is your turn.
Yes, indeed.
Make
Hmm.
it so.
Hmm. Engage. I don't think Picard vaped.
Darmok and Jalad.
At
Tanagra.
Tanagra. Okay, so my category is science. Okay, so here's the thing. This is probably going to be a big one. So there's this whole like COVID-19 controversial lab leak theory, which may or may not be true. Kind of hard to say. And whether or not it's true, such research does happen. And accidental leaks have occurred. Like that has happened, including at the Wuhan lab where people say COVID-19 was developed. Like they had a leak years before. So I guess the question here is, should we really be performing experiments like that?
Uh, I mean, leaks are gonna happen. I don't think there's anything like nefarious behind it necessarily. And I don't think that was necessarily the direction you were going.
No, no, not at all. No.
But I that just felt like it popped out enough that it should bear mentioning. But whether or not that's good, I mean, the good of it comes from knowing how to evade or ward off these diseases that can be like that we can come across in nature,
Yeah.
and it's just building defenses for it. And I mean all kinds of microbes and bacteria and biomes exist within us that are, like we're entirely harmless to each other, like, and there's just a few outliers that can do a whole lot of damage. So to build a defense for that, I unequivocally say it's a good thing. Like,
Yeah, as long as you observe the proper safety precautions, I agree. Like
yeah,
because there's the whole argument against gain of function research, and well, that kind of assumes that nature doesn't have gain of function adjustments. but
Right.
it does. Like, so shouldn't we be preparing for a potential future super deadly super virus? Like, I don't see that that's a bad thing.
Right.
Um, as long as we're careful about it, and maybe some of these things, because the accidents are few and far between, a lot of things that are developed are technically benign. Maybe people get complacent to where they all the safety protocols, they kind of like, whatever, I'm not going to follow those anymore. And then one time, like, the zombie apocalypse gets out. Like, it totally could happen.
Here's the thing. Whatever leaks from the, you know, odd, occurrence statistically of somebody like letting something out because they weren't careful enough. Whatever that is going to probably really suck for us. And I guess what I'm saying is like it doesn't mean it was like a targeted attack on the world just because it affected the world so badly. Like that could have just been bad luck.
Yeah, and in fact, it's kind of was it Occam's razor? I think.
Mm-hmm.
Odds are it is bad luck. However, the fact is there are bad actors out there in governments throughout the world who want to weaponize these kinds of things, and they do, and they develop these kinds of things. And I could totally see how people can put, draw those connections and assume, oh, this must have been some kind of black project research thing, and it just happened to get out, or maybe it was intentional because look at what they did in response to this. Of course it
Mm,
was intentional. I
no, nobody would use a communicable disease as a weapon against people in in mass. Like that would not happen because it could affect them. It could go way out of control and wipe out the whole planet. Like nobody's using that much collateral damage. Like usually they want to preserve something they want to control, not just wipe it all out like Skeletor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So as indiscriminate as COVID-19 was, that you're right. But if let's say it picked on one particular group, some genetic variation or something, okay, then I could say, like, you might be onto something. But the fact that this was completely indiscriminate,
Right.
either suggests it's a natural variant, or it was an accidental, well, something we were developing and it got out. I don't know. But it's completely ludicrous to think that it was intentional. Um,
End of the day, it
because
doesn't fucking matter where it came from. You just deal with it.
yeah, exactly. Well, my point was more about, like, should we be doing this? But
I think we both agreed that it's a necessary evil. Like
I agree. Yeah.
bad things are just gonna happen. Like, I mean, we rely on our plumbing without worrying constantly if it's
Mhm.
going to spring a leak. But sometimes it does.
Yeah. I don't know if that analogy entirely applies, but I agree
I
that
mean, statistically, it's like a leaky drain.
well, yeah, and testing for all possible eventualities, being a bit of a prepper. I agree with that philosophy. So
A
I guess
bit
we'll
of
go
a
on to your topic.
oh, politicals,
uh,
politicals, Pol-
ooh, that's a
politic, politics.
politics. That's a sticky wicket.
Yes. So the topic of politics is what do you think of the concept of student loan forgiveness?
mm. Oh man, that mm, oh that's actually, like, kind of a big thing for me. because I think student loans and the ease of getting them is the reason why costs are so high. Um,
I mean, it certainly probably has some kind of contribution, no doubt.
well, yeah, and uh,
I mean, and it's a lot of money, but it's money that would be spent one way or another by everybody, whether or not it's like inflation or, us paying more tax to provide that education for free in the first place, whatever it is, the economy is a blob, like you push it here and a ripple effect could happen over there. Like you're paying the same amount for everything you get, no matter who takes it.
well, and maybe with easy money, it's really easy to pick really bad majors because, well, at that point, like you don't have to be profitable. I mean, as an individual working a job and finding something like, oh, it, it doesn't matter. It'll be paid whether you pick underwater basket weaving or brain surgery. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like they will always pay it. And if you fuck up and nobody wants wet baskets anymore, well, we'll just pay it off. Well, then of course people are going to go that route. They're going to take the easy route. And I don't know if that's the right angle. Okay, I'll say it this way. In one time, yes. Okay, it's a complete shit show right now. So why don't we say this one time we've been fucking up for 40 odd years? We'll just clean the slate. Everybody is off the hook. Okay, it does kind of raise the question of like, what about the people who have paid off their loans with their blood, sweat, and tears? What about them? What do they get? And the person who hasn't paid it, they just get it paid off too. So I could see how there might be some resentment there.
I mean, yeah, but it's not really justified. I mean,
well,
there's all kinds of shit that, like, oh, my grandfather died of polio, and then they come out with a vaccine, like, oh, woe is me, like, well, that's just the luck of the draw.
I
Like,
don't think
it's not a dig on you. Like,
well, no, but I'm talking about like people feeling resentful. Like, hey, I actually like got a job and worked and did stuff and manually paid this loan off.
yeah,
And then
but
this
that's
fucker over
capable
here
in their economy. It's not capable in this economy. Like the numbers don't bear out.
Well, this economy and their economy are the same economy, but
At different times.
no, I'm talking in the here and now. People today who have paid off their loans, they might be resentful of people who have not paid off their loans, who got the degree in underwater basket weaving, or some such, humanities degree or something like that. Like, there's no way you're going to get a good paying job in that.
I guess I say, so what? Like, so they feel resentful. I mean, you got your underwater basket weaving degree. That's a risk no matter what. Like,
well, but it's a risk to go to college too. So what if you can't pay at that point? Like you chose poorly.
It shouldn't be. Education should not cost anything. That making it cost something is nothing more than a barrier. And why should we have any barriers to what furthers our evolution?
Well, I agree, and technically, education does not cost anything. But that's a huge. Oh my god, this is like its own episode in and of itself. Like we got to talk about this because oh my god.
I mean, I'm all for loan forgiveness because, like, in my eyes, it should have been free this whole time. It could have been.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
this is This is too big for a lightning round. Oh man.
Damn.
Okay, we will definitely put that on the list because I think ultimately you and I agree on a lot of things, but disagree on some stuff. And it's gonna get some people's juices flowing, which will be good. It'll be good. It's gonna be a good conversation.
Ooh,
Yeah.
juice is flowing, huh? Huh.
Sorry, not the fun juices.
Well, you never know.
Could. Okay. Yeah, that might happen. Um,
Sending those sexy vibes out to the viewers.
so, okay, we don't want to get demonetized. Okay, maybe we're already demonetized. So go ahead.
NBC reporting now the YouTube podcast Kitchen Sink Microscopy gave over 13 million women orgasms just from watching.
Oh man, that would be an epic video.
People are like, man, they got some big egos.
Well, they got big something, that's for sure. Since we're already demonetized, I'm just fuck it.
You economy?
It is me, and that would be economy.
Oh, we were just kind of talking economy, actually.
We kind of were.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, but this has nothing to do with that.
Totally unplanned, people. This is reality TV.
We are experts at drunkenly segueing randomly into one topic after another. But this has nothing to do with education. Well, kind of. Kind of. Quiet! Before we get all Skeksis on people. Okay. So the economy.
Dolphin essence.
Is it Yoda or Skeksis that you're going for there? Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Grim up.
Got enough beers for now. All right. The economy. So the just-in-time manufacturing system.
I've been so irritated at supply chain excuses. Like, what is going on? How are we out of shit? How are there no jobs? How are there, like, I don't know, like simultaneously a bunch of people not working? What is happening? Bus is
I've wondered a lot of the same things too. Well, so for those, I should probably fill in the blanks for those who don't know. The JIT, or the just-in-time supply system or manufacturing system, it actually has its origins in Toyota. Genius fucking manufacturing, by the way. The philosophy is you would only create just enough stuff to supply the demand, and no more, no less. Maybe a little bit of a buffer there. The idea being there's less waste.
Yeah,
because
economically it's very healthy.
It is. However, the downside is there is no stockpile on hand if there's issues with the supply chain.
Yeah.
And that's why we're seeing shortages that we do today, in theory. Because the whole world kind of operates this way now.
Yeah. There's so much stuff that, like, it's impractical or impossible to store.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a huge need for just in time. where it makes practical sense. Like, if you don't get the ice cream here at a refrigerated temperature, like
Yeah.
either that or very fast, it's not going to do me any good.
Well, exactly. Like your ice cream analogy is pretty appropriate. Like if you manufacture, thousands, millions of gallons of ice cream, expecting the ice cream man to sell all the ice cream over the summer, and it doesn't sell, well, all that ice cream goes bad. It melts and it goes bad. So why would you have
Or you have a bunch of fat employees.
yeah,
All right, everybody,
yeah,
eat the ice cream.
exactly. Well, that'd be nice. But it has a downside. Like, if there's some kind of unforeseen thing, like, oh, I don't know, like a global pandemic, um, and nobody realized like toilet paper was going to suddenly be a thing. Well, the people manufacturing toilet paper didn't anticipate that, so there's not enough to go around, and suddenly you're left with a shortage. Um, I, I have mixed feelings because, yeah, it's nice to have a little bit of a backup, and honestly, I think the onus is on us. We should have a little bit of a backup. You know, Here in the US, we have FEMA, and FEMA says, like, oh, have like a couple weeks of supplies, a little bit of water, some medical stuff, medications if you need them.
Well, okay, say
Food.
people do have that. What do you do? Like if, a good chunk of people don't do that. You really should be normalizing the black market to trade what's needed at prices that people can afford. Like have an underground economy and let it thrive on its own.
Oh,
Because if you do that,
hmm.
people in that socioeconomic status can be more empowered to help each other survive.
That is a very anarchistic way to say things.
Yeah, but it's
And
but it's still a
no, you're
network
you're
function,
right.
like
Yeah. Well, nature finds a way. Um, and I think so. To me, the just-in-time manufacturing system is a good balance of between waste and excess. Um, ah, fuck.
you know what? I just had a thought. We should start our own political party called the Anarchist Socialists. And people are going to be like, what?
Wait a minute. That's like the plus minus political party. How does that work? Well, actually, it kind of does.
It really does. Like, the more we talk, the more I feel like we are figuring out how a system like that would work. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the least amount, the just in time government, the
Oh,
least amount of government. Like, but when you need it, it's there, it's ready, you
mm-hmm.
know. Every now and then there might be a catastrophe that it's not ready for.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
man. Oh,
Anyway.
that's good. These
Before we get
episodes are
into
always
kitchen
so.
sink specoscopy, man.
uh, well, now it's time for like the ultimate uh category.
Oh, yes. Conspiracy theories. I think this one will fit in nicely with the other topics tonight.
But funny how everything kind of has a common thread.
Yeah.
How do we do that?
Creepy.
That's crazy.
Like, we legit don't know what the other person's bringing up.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, for conspiracy theories, what are your thoughts on deep fakes?
Ooh, uh, I see
Am
that.
I who you think I am?
I wouldn't know. Like all I have are my senses, and my senses betray me all the time. Yeah, there is a problem, I guess, in that we can simulate almost anything. We can make almost anybody say or do anything.
And you touched on it. The perception is all you have to fool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because we just take for granted what we're perceiving to be reality. And so a person doesn't need to mimic perfectly. They just have to do it in such a way that it exudes nothing but confidence and complete comfort in being who they are, just as a normal human being would. You know,
Yeah.
a normal human being wouldn't be acting like it's actually a human being. You know, like you pick up on cues like that that make you think, oh, okay, this is, like a computer did this or whatever. But
Well,
those
yeah, and
deep fakes get past all that because
it
confidence.
it was a lot easier a long time ago because it was pretty obvious to see when somebody was using chroma key or something like that. You could
Yeah.
it was only obvious. But nowadays, the whole entire scene can be constructed with AI. In fact, there's an entire service industry built around taking old photos of your long dead loved ones and animating them. So they're kind of like
Wow.
moving around and smiling and
Jesus
stuff.
Christ.
Yeah, like from a photo, AI can reconstruct that and build it into like I guess the closest thing I could say is like a living thing.
Oh my
And
God. What if we're just printed media?
yeah. Mm.
Shit.
Well, it does bring up the question like maybe we are living in a simulation. I mean, this really could be.
We're
But then
just on a
again,
piece of paper right now, man, that somebody accidentally printed before it was done, and they're gonna crumple us up and throw us in the wastebasket.
well, probably not. We'll just go to long-term memory storage, I guess. But it is a real concern because how do you differentiate between what is actual and what is not actual? It's really hard to tell nowadays. It used to be so easy, but now so many people see these like UFO CGI things and they think it's real. And it's like, okay, that's obviously not real. But people are tricked now. Um, and they're getting easier and easier to trick because the technology is getting better and better. And people are not getting better and smarter. They're like, so that is a problem. So yeah, if you have deep fakes, imagine if like the president came out and there was some kind of news thing and the president said something wild. Um, I mean, how would
Like
you
the old
know?
days.
Well, how would you know if it was a real thing? Back in the 90s, you would know because this technology didn't exist. Now it does. Like, who do you trust? What do you trust? Like, what is actually
But
real nowadays?
impersonation has existed for a long time,
Mhm.
whether it's just, like makeup or, physically doctoring a photo or just dressing like somebody or, like who knows how far back the sharpness of focus on our surroundings really came into like a fine detail.
Well, back in the
Maybe it
day,
was easier to fool people before, and the technology is like competing to keep up with us.
oh shit. Uh,
Mike, drop.
uh, uh. Yeah, that was a good one. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like there's a lot more to talk about there, though.
I am not Morgan Freeman, and what you see is not real. Well, at least in contemporary terms, it is not. What if I were to tell you that I am not even a human being? Would you believe me? What is your perception of reality? Is it the ability to capture, process, and make sense of the information our senses receive? If you can see, hear, taste, or smell something, does that make it real?
Man.
Yeah. Maybe starting less drunk on that one.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's okay. Like
Yeah.
I feel like the drunker we get, the more poignant the points we make.
Poignant points.
Yeah. Mm.
Hit it, pun it, poignant points. We make the poignantest points in the pun it point square.
As seen on TV special.
Only 1999 payments of 1999.
In 1999. Yep. But wait, there's more. If you call within the next 25 minutes, we will double your order. There's twice as many poignant points.
The poignant points are on a logarithmic scale. We can't keep up. We need them to go.
Oh man. Yeah. Speaking of logarithms, slide rules, yeah.
Okay, I have triangle, so I'm going to do trigonometry. I'm going to need the transcendental functions. On the decilon, the trigonometric functions are on the back. So to solve this on a slide rule, you're going to find 86 on the main scale here, and you're going to move the end, and of course this will be feet if the hypotenuse is in feet. Okay, let's look at how that solution works on the HP35. Then a couple seconds later, it gives me the cosine. And then what I'll do is I'll punch in the 86, and then I'll tell it to multiply. And I get 76.2, and you can see I can read off up to 10 significant figures there, where all the slide rule could give me was about 3.
Anyway, well, I guess it's down to the last thing for this
The last one. Boom, 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 boom.
Oh. And that would be religion.
Did you want to introduce this one since I
go.
had
Why don't you go ahead? Because I didn't like type into that space what you had said.
Oh, okay.
So feel free.
Religion. So, if the just utter like saturation of a lack of critical thinking stems from hanging on to religion.
Oh yeah. Well, and I would almost see it as like an after effect of religions being a thing. I feel like there's a lot of people in this world who aren't religious, but still behave religiously.
They plug in a horoscope or some other thing that they lean on that satisfies that warm embrace of not really knowing what the fuck is actually going on.
Well, and I would argue that none of us really knows what the fuck's going on, and nor do any of the people who claim that they know what is going on. But yeah, it having that kind of sense of like, oh, there's somebody out there, a higher power I can see why people eschew common sense and critical thinking in favor of such things. Like, it's easy, right? Like, oh, you just ascribe to this team or that team or whatever, and like, oh, you're on the right side.
Well, and there's the whole idea of just trusting in the fact that something that doesn't make sense happened and taking it as like that core concepts of a lot of, at least the Abrahamic religions, is very much like a detriment to critical thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why things like Buddhism, you'll actually see atheist Buddhists, like, because it's not so much about supernatural shit, it's more about like inward, like introspection and things like that. Like, you are the higher power.
Yeah, Buddhism definitely doesn't, well, it does kind of have a deity, but not quite. Not to the extent that the Abrahamic religions like Christianity and
I'd call it more of a celebrity.
yeah, although I don't know if that's a good thing either. Like, maybe can we have religiosity that doesn't have a deity, that doesn't have a celebrity, that where there is no special Superman? Oh shit.
You might say that is what atheism is, because like technically nobody really knows what actually happens beyond death. We can't even decide as a species in a 1,000-year period what death is. Like, we've changed the definition of it so many times. Like, the point where we say that person is dead.
The thing is, from a critical thinking standpoint, it's like, okay, well, I will believe or I will entertain what you have to say, your theories, when you come back from the dead. Like, if you've been there and you got the t-shirt and come back, like, okay, we can talk. To me, it's like
you're assuming they'll have t-shirts in that reality. Like a supply chain issue.
Supply chain. Oh man. Okay, that point well taken. Yeah. But it is something, it's like, it's very hard to entertain things when it's so nebulous and so inconclusive. Like, I want conclusive data. Like, give me data. I want to see, if you proclaim to me that your God is the right God, like, well, show me the evidence.
Yeah. And a dream is not evidence.
Yeah.
Like there was a book that had one of those footnotes, and then it said, like, this came to me in a dream.
Yeah.
You can't reference that.
That's time. Well, I was going to say, I've had dreams with all kinds of fantastical things.
Oh, you know what? We haven't done an episode on... We did lucid dreams, but we haven't done just dreams.
Oh, man. Oh, no. We should, because there's that whole dream book thing that, like, people get all excited about. Like, oh, dream books and stuff. And that bugs me, because most of my dreams involve things that are not included in any dream book.
Oh. I thought you said dream boat. I was like, the dream boat.
We could talk about that too. That's an option.
could have gotten these signals from space. We are getting them today. These are the radio telescopes. That's what radio telescopes do today. Receive signals from space. They're not from alien civilizations, but they are from the sun and from the stars.
Step up voltages to high voltages at high frequencies that essentially transmits